You're listening to an episode of the Abigail Pugh podcast with, you guessed it, Abigail Pugh. I'm an introverted mama who took my online business from 0 to 7 figures in 15 months selling my own digital products on social media. And guess what? I did it all with my 3-year-old daughter no less than 3 feet away from me at all times. Now I'm bringing you everything I've learned about building a wildly profitable online business that supports your life while allowing you to truly live it. Get ready for raw, honest conversations with entrepreneurs making thousands per month selling their own digital products and people just like you who ditch self-doubt to create the life they've always wanted. If you're ready to make more money, have more impact, and still have time for the things that matter most, you're in the right place. Grab your sneakers, head out on your hot girl walk, and let's dive in. Today's guest is literally a genius when it comes to selling digital products on YouTube, which I know it sounds scary. I'm even nervous to use YouTube to sell digital products, but she's going to break it down for us. Stephanie is a business educator and content creator herself. She teaches small business owners how to get visible, get paid, and build a business around their life and not the other way around, which is like my motto in life. I love that so much. She has served over 4,000 online students through her online courses, programs, and digital products, and she's reached millions with her content online. So, Stephanie, thank you so much for coming. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here.
Me too. I vividly remember like finding your account probably in like maybe 2021. And I like loved how you did your reels. I think as she had started over, she has a new account now, which I'm sure we'll get to later. But I like vividly remember seeing her reels and she would talk about like reels that would convert. And I was so fascinated because like back then when reels were newer, like nobody was talking about converting reels, right? It was all just like, try it, see what works and like get views. Like we kind of all didn't know what we were doing. So I remember like seeing you on my Explore page. I don't even remember if I followed you or not because I wasn't even like thinking about reels converting. Like I was a creative director at that point when I found you. So that was really fun to like full circle moment when we started following each other. I was like, why do I know, like, why do I recognize her face? And then I like dug really far back in your resources and was like, oh my God, I saw her like years ago. So it's so exciting to like know that we've kind of like crossed digital paths back in the day.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I had no idea. Yeah, I think I found you again, like maybe in the past year at some point and then started following you, but like had no idea that like you had seen. I feel like people say that a lot. They'll either have seen my face on Reels or on YouTube is a lot of like people will be like, oh, like I Googled like how to make a reel and you came up on YouTube and that's why you look familiar.
Yep. And I feel like you were like one of the first ones because back in 2020, like I was a UGC creator then, but it was all photos. Like reels weren't a thing yet. So companies didn't want video content. And I remember seeing things like, wow, like she's like you were like one of the only people back then teaching about Reel, in my opinion, like there wasn't like a million gurus on Reels at that point. So it's just like such a full circle moment. I love it. Now, tell us a little bit about your story, how you got into content creation, digital products, all that. It's always so fun to hear like why people started.
Yeah. So I started my business almost 9 years ago, which is crazy. I mean, you could technically say like the niche I'm in now, I started almost 3 years ago. So I have pivoted a few times over the years. So I started as a photographer, did a lot of weddings, and then pivoted into teaching other photographers what I knew. Figured out that I really fell in love with the business side of things and really how to like market a business and specifically social media marketing. That was like what a lot of people were coming to me for and like asking me questions on. And then it just slowly evolved from there to not just teaching photographers, oh, here's how I like edit my photos or how I take my pictures or how I serve clients, but here's how I'm like marketing myself. And that's also just what I love. Like I love talking about marketing. And so I knew long term that I wanted to pivot into that. Slowly did the pivot. And I would say really, it was like late 2021 is when I was like, okay, I'm going to go like full on into teaching social media. And at that point I had started building my audience on YouTube. I had been on YouTube for at that point I had been on it technically since 2018, creating more videos for photographers, but I had grown to maybe a few thousand subscribers, wasn't really seeing much from it. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to put all this effort into YouTube, like it needs to be worth my time, right? Like at that point I had graduated college. I was full time in my business for maybe a year and a half. And I really was like, okay, I'm going to learn everything I can about YouTube, self-taught myself,
Wow.
honestly watched a lot of YouTube videos about YouTube,
Yep.
went to YouTube University maybe. And really from there, within 6 months, I saw a ton of traction on my channel. And like you're saying, it was during that time too, when Instagram Reels came out in 2020. And so towards the end of 2020 is when I really leaned into, and I'm someone who, when something comes out that's new, I'm like, yes, let's try it. Like I love trying new
Same.
things. Yeah. Like it doesn't intimidate me at all. And at that time, obviously a lot of people were like, whoa, what is this? Like video, like reels, like what in the world is happening? So it did give me a huge opportunity to see growth, not only on Instagram, but also on YouTube, because I was willing to take what I was learning
Hmm.
and turn that into YouTube content. So, specific to YouTube, that's kind of how my journey started. And from there, I just learned a lot about how to monetize my channel and actually convert the views I was getting into sales for, specifically, I sell mostly online courses and digital products.
Yeah. So I know with YouTube, there's like, it's called AdSense where they can run ads on your videos. Are you monetizing from that as well? Or are you mainly making sales from your digital products that you are talking about in your YouTube?
Yeah. So AdSense, I don't rely on AdSense for income.
Yeah.
I look at AdSense as like it's a bonus for the things I'm
Yeah.
already doing on YouTube. So I easily make around like $1,000 to $1,500 per month with AdSense. And that's been true for me for over 3 years now. But
Wow.
I make way more than that, obviously,
Yeah.
from courses and digital products. So that's really like what I'm focused on versus just trying to make AdSense money. But I do look at it as a good bonus.
Yeah, totally. So I know a lot of people are monetizing from, Instagram and their reels and things like that. And on Instagram right now, like educational content doesn't really convert very well, right? In my opinion, unless it's like storytelling educational content. Whereas on YouTube, I know that YouTube is a ton of educational content. So is there a way to kind of like mix educational with conversion content on YouTube? Like, how does that work? I feel like that's the missing piece that I'm missing is I'm like, I don't want to just show up and like do tutorials on things all the time. I'm not passionate about that, but like, I'd love to monetize while teaching on YouTube. So like, how does that work?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, when it comes to getting found on YouTube, there's really two main ways to get found, and that is getting found through search and getting found by being suggested on YouTube. For me, and what works well for my niche, I have really leaned a lot into that search driven content. So, that is going to mean things like, kind of put yourself in the perspective of your ideal client and what are they searching on YouTube, but also like if you are already done research on like just in general, like what would they put into Google or type in? Because YouTube is a search engine, like very powerful search engine. It's actually also owned by Google. If you notice, like when you search things on Google, YouTube also will pop up at the top of Google, like it'll suggest videos, which is why you almost have like two different search engines that you're tapping into when you create YouTube content. And then you can take that a step further by we blog our YouTube content. So we're getting like have three opportunities to get
Hmm.
found in different places. But I do generally lean a lot into that educational content on YouTube, or like what are the things people are wondering about. And that
Hmm.
doesn't necessarily mean your video has to be like, here's the 3 steps to do this, or here's a tutorial on this. Although I will say in my niche, and I know you have a very similar niche, right? That those tutorial type videos tend to perform so well. And I agree, like they're not necessarily my favorite videos to create. Like I'd much
Yeah.
rather share my story or share, stories about how, results my own students have gotten or,
Hmm.
the transformation, how they can get there. But I have found that those tutorials I look at them as a great way for people to find me. So it's not like I want to do all tutorials, right? Like not
Yeah.
every single video is going to be based on that. But you do want some of those because they're going to, or I should say, you do want videos that whatever it is your ideal client is searching in YouTube, like those are the videos you're generally going to get found more, especially when it comes to search. Now, there is also being suggested by YouTube, and that can be a whole different strategy of not necessarily like trying to make a video to get ranked in search, but creating a video that's going to be very enticing, right? And that's where you could create a video of like, here's how I built like $1 million business, and then where you can
Hmm.
share your story. And someone might not be searching on YouTube how I built my $1 million business. I mean, they
Yeah.
might be, but not necessarily as much as like, how do I start with digital products, right? Like that might be something more so someone would search in YouTube, but that could be a video, how I built $1 million business that people might see like in the suggested area of YouTube or pop up on their
Gotcha.
homepage that they're like, oh, like I want to learn from this person, right? And so that's where you can also gain reach on YouTube with those types of videos. But I do also go back to, and this is something that YouTube themselves actually used to teach. They had something called like YouTube University. Honestly, I don't know much about it because it was like before I really got started on YouTube, but they would teach the help, hero, and hub concept where
Hmm.
you want to kind of like rotate through those different types of videos. So obviously like help content is more of the educational content.
Yep.
Hero content is going to be more of the content that you're trying to go not like viral with, but it's more the suggested videos like I was
Yeah.
just explaining. And then the hub content, like you're going to make some content that's going to be more so for your existing audience. And those ones, I don't create a ton of those. I do maybe one every month or two. Like it's not something that I lean in a ton, especially because I'm looking at YouTube as a way to market a business, not necessarily to become a YouTuber. So then that's
Yeah.
where it kind of shifts things a little bit, where I lean into the other two more. But occasionally, like for example, I love to create, and my audience loves it when I do like launch reports, like where I talk
Hmm.
about like a launch and like how it went and the numbers and all of that. So I would
Yeah.
consider that more hub content where it's for my existing audience.
Yeah. Now, walk us through what it looks like for you. Like, do you have an editor? Do you do everything yourself? Like, how does that work? What do you set up? Like, I'd love to know kind of your setup. And then after that, we'll go into how other people can like start with the bare minimum or even recycle their content to YouTube.
Yeah. So back when I was doing YouTube all by myself, so solo, like I was ideating, outlining, planning out the video content, recording the videos, editing the videos,
My
scheduling the
gosh.
videos, like all the different pieces.
A lot.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of moving pieces. I was able to get my workflow down to around 4 hours per week
Oh,
doing
wow.
that, creating one long form video every single week. But the way to do that I always recommend is making sure you're batching as much as possible. Like if
Hmm.
you're doing that process start to finish for one video, week in and week out, you're going to spend a lot of time
Yeah.
recording and a lot of time editing, a lot of time scheduling. So I would do it more on like a monthly basis. So when I break it down, it's like 4 hours per week. But really, I was spending a lot of hours in one week on YouTube. And then I wasn't thinking as much about it the rest of the month.
Gotcha.
Nowadays, and I say now that I have a team, so I have someone who helps me schedule YouTube videos. So she'll take the final video, actually schedule them on YouTube, optimize them, all of that. And then I also have a video editor, which the editing is a big chunk of it. I would say that would take me usually around 2 hours per week was the editing of the long form video. So with those two people, my time spent on YouTube is usually 4, maybe 5 hours per month. So, and that's on a monthly basis as well, where I'm just sitting down, like coming up with video ideas, recording the videos, and then they
Yeah.
take care of the rest from there.
And what would you say, like, do you know the percentage of return on that? Like, so if you're doing that per month, like, do you know what sales are coming from YouTube specifically? And then you said ad spend is around 1,000 to 1,500 a month, or not ad spend, sorry, AdSense, where she makes money from YouTube for the videos.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard for me to say exactly like, oh, here's the exact number every single month that we get from YouTube.
Yeah.
We can track very specifically like email list leads. We easily
Hmm.
get 500 a month from YouTube, opting
That's awesome.
into our email lists, into different like freebies. And also I have like free webinars. So between those two things, like obviously pitching them into paid products and offers, it's hard to totally pinpoint because something else too with YouTube that's been so powerful for me is that it's built my audience as well, right? And so a lot of the people on my email list that like maybe they didn't buy right when they got on my email list, but over the years, like, you know, a year later, 2 years later, like they
Yep.
are investing into my program or they're investing into my course, right? So it's hard for me to say an exact number. I
Yeah.
do have of like one time I was like, I want to figure out one exact number. Was able to track for one of my online courses in a 2-year time period. I estimated that I made about $62,000 from my course. And that's just from YouTube and just for one of my courses.
That's amazing.
It took a little bit of a deep dive and me having to look at like trying to figure out the amount of leads and the percentage that were coming and being pitched to my course and like all of those
Yeah.
things. And that was during a really honestly pivotal time for my business too, in terms of like that was a year where I barely worked. Like I became a mom. I went through a big season of grief of losing my mother-in-law, and I was pregnant with twins too. So
Oh
at
my
that
gosh.
time, like there was just a lot going on. And then we ended up moving later that year to a whole new state, and like so many things happening that year. Like we look back on that year, me and my team member who was working for me at the time were like, yeah, you were basically like, you would take a week to respond. You like had no time to like do
Aw.
anything else. But my business, a lot, like one of those years, that 2 year time period was that year where I was going through all of
Hmm.
that, where I was like, had very little capacity for my
Yeah.
business, to be honest. And so it's just so something I'm so grateful for, because it's something that continues to market my business even in those seasons and even
Yeah.
in those times where I'm like, I literally can't show up right now.
Yep. So I know a lot of people are like fed up with Instagram. I'm like seeing a ton of people on Threads who are like, I'm done with Instagram. I want to leave, which obviously personally I love Instagram and I don't think I will leave for many, many years if I do ever leave. But if you had to choose between YouTube and Instagram, which one would you choose?
Oh, that's so hard because Instagram is such a great way to connect with your audience more instantly. Like
Yeah.
when we have, like, for example, I just ran a live webinar. Like none of those signups came from YouTube. Yes, like
Yeah.
people came from YouTube on my email list. And then we, shared about the webinar to our email list and then they signed up.
Yeah.
But YouTube is definitely the long game. It's not something where you can post a video and you're going to see like all of these leads in 1 week, right? Like it's slowly
Yeah.
over time building up this content library that's like then starts working for you.
Yeah.
But Instagram's such a great way to like reach your audience so quickly. If I had to choose, am I allowed to keep my email list?
Yes.
Okay. I would say if I could keep my email list, I probably would keep YouTube just because it's more like evergreen marketing where I don't
Yeah.
have to show up every single day, right? Or have a team member show up every single day in order to market on that platform. I
Yeah.
love Instagram. Like it's probably my favorite app to create content for, specifically on stories. Like I love showing up and like interacting with my audience. But when it comes to like, if I had my email list, I also know that I can reach my people like via my email list quickly. So if I
Yeah.
had to choose, I would choose YouTube, but that's like
Yeah.
really hard.
I know. I feel like the way I think of it is like YouTube is very long term. It's like the longevity on YouTube is so much more. But if you want to live launch something and like get immediate feedback from people, Instagram is the way to go. Because like you said, you can't like launch something on YouTube the way that you can on Instagram because the YouTube videos have such a long lifespan, right? Whereas
Yeah.
like Instagram, they don't have as long of a lifespan, but you reach more people more quickly and you can like
Mhm.
very conversationally talk to them there.
Yes.
So I feel like eventually I need to get back on YouTube. I tried it for a few months and I like hired an editor and I just
Yeah.
couldn't get the long form out of my mouth. Like it was so freaking hard. But now that I'm doing podcasting, I feel like this is really helping me practice like getting my
Yeah.
thoughts out in a long form instead of a reel where I can like get one sentence out at a time and then pause and then like collect myself and know what I'm going to say next.
Yeah.
So eventually I think I'll get there.
Yeah. I always say looking back at how I've grown, it did take me again like at least 6 months to start seeing that type of growth. And it
Yeah.
is even now, like when I look every month at the videos that performed the best, most of the videos I did not post in the past few months. Like most of them were posted like a
Crazy.
year prior, right? And then just continuing to gain traction. And I'll have a video here and there that I post and like a month or two later, it'll start to take off. For example, when ManyChat became more of a thing, I've created some videos on ManyChat and those took off faster
Yeah.
because kind of like you were saying back when Reels first came out, there weren't a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah.
Same with ManyChat. Like you search on YouTube, there's not many
Yep.
people talking about
I
it.
literally send people to your ManyChat videos because I'm like,
Oh,
not a lot of
thanks.
people explain it in layman terms. Sometimes it's like
Right.
way above people's heads. So
Totally.
there's you and like one other YouTube that I like
Mhm.
always send people to because I'm like, this is the
Mhm.
best. But I have such a hard time with like that type of educational content. Like it's so hard for me to sit down and be like, do this and then do this. So I'm very grateful that you do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you too, it's like with YouTube, I always say that it is more of a skill set that
Hmm.
takes time to build that up. And it's not something that you're going to do and instantly be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
like I get this, it's easy, it's fast." Like
Yeah.
at this point, I can usually sit down, easily knock on a normal, not pregnant Stephanie day, knock out like 5 to 6 videos in 2 or 3 hours. And so it does get a lot faster. Like once you learn how to do it, it feels fast and simple. And I
Yeah.
always tell people like, you're looking for like 10 minutes. Like you're not looking for 30, 40-minute long
Yeah.
videos. Like it doesn't have to be these super in-depth, like super long videos, which is honestly hard for me to
Yeah.
keep it to like that 10 to 15-minute mark. That's honestly what people really like seeing too. They want you to
Yeah.
get to the point and just tell them what they came there for.
Yep. And I think YouTube is not, for most people, it's not like your first place that you start. I feel like it's a building block, right? Like for me, I got started on TikTok and then I went to Instagram and now I have a podcast. And it's like, it's probably going to be your second or third platform that you add on once you kind of know what your audience needs and how you can serve them more. I probably wouldn't recommend starting on YouTube first. Like, figure out your audience, I think, and the type of content that they like, and then use YouTube to like get more of an audience and like build on top of that. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, like I mentioned, like even if you just have a virtual assistant who's helping in other areas of your business or who can help some of those things with YouTube can be incredibly helpful. I also say too, like as you are like looking to scale more and especially like with your content and your marketing, YouTube can actually help simplify other areas of your marketing as well.
Hmm.
So like I like to do something called content stacking. So essentially it's like you have like a long form piece of content. So this could be typically like YouTube, podcasts, could also be blogging. And you're taking that and turning that into all these other pieces of content. So
Hmm.
like now YouTube serves as a really great basis for us when it comes to like, I put my time and energy into creating this awesome YouTube video every week. I do a lot of really intentional research and
Hmm.
outlining for my videos. And then my team can take that and obviously turn the YouTube video into a blog post, turn it
Yeah.
into short form videos. But also, like, I have a team member who now helps me a lot with creating even Instagram reel content, which I never thought would happen. I'm like, no, I'm supposed to create my reels, right? But she's been really helpful in taking, like, she'll look at the outlines I even create for YouTube videos and be like, oh, here's a really impactful, like, statement, or here's like the 3 steps for this that I can turn this into a carousel, right? And so it's been really impactful, even thinking about, like, for me, how can I put more of my time into other areas of my business and not
Hmm.
just be in the marketing content creation area of my business and have other
Yeah.
people help with that while making it still feel so genuine to me and my brand
Yeah.
and my voice. And a lot of that still come from my brain, right? Because she's
Yeah.
still like referring to my YouTube content. So I definitely don't tell people like, start with YouTube. That's the one way you should start marketing. Like, it takes a while to build up,
Yeah.
right? But it can definitely be something that once you do add that in and start thinking about how can I serve my audience in a deeper way, but also like as you start thinking about, and again, even if it's just one assistant, like bringing someone in to help you
Yeah.
with some of your marketing can be a really powerful way to do that.
Yeah, I didn't have a VA for several, I think maybe the first year. I don't remember exactly when I hired her on, but now I would crumble without her. Like her little things that she does that just like, I don't know, there's always small things in my business that I'm like, it'll take me 5 minutes to do it, but I put it off and I make it up to be this thing that's going to take me forever. And like being able to give her those tasks is so helpful.
Yes. All those 5-minute things add up.
Yes, they really do. Now, okay, before we hop off, I would love for you to walk us through like the bare minimum that people need to start and maybe like the first 3 videos that you think they should post.
Ooh, good question. So I would say, as far as the tech of it, number one thing, a microphone.
Yeah.
Like you can film with your smartphone. There's even, I use, I was about to show it, but obviously they're not going to see it.
We'll link it so you can describe it and then I'll link it for them.
Okay. It's called the Rode Video Mic Me, and you can get it in, it's depending on what kind of smartphone you have. There's like a USB-C version, lightning port version that literally it's a microphone you just plug directly into your phone. And I use this all the time for Instagram content. Like if I'm going to talk into my phone or like if I'm voice messaging, like coaching students or whatever. But I love that microphone. And I always tell people like so many of our cameras on our phones are so good nowadays. Like it's a great way to get started. Like just set your phone up horizontally. I always get that question, like, can I film long form videos in vertical format? I'm like, it won't really feel like a YouTube video. So short answer is no. Yeah. So just make sure you're filming in that like horizontal landscape format. And if that's what feels the least intimidating, will actually get you to film videos, like start with that. Don't wait until you can figure out this fancy tech setup.
Yeah.
If you want to get fancier with it, I mean, I have a ton of resources on my blog and YouTube channel about different like setups you can go for if you want to want a more affordable setup that maybe you spend several $100s on, to if you're like, I want to go all out with like a 4K video setup and like fancy microphone. I have those videos that I show you like what I use and like different options, but you don't have to start with that whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't think, I even look back to the first like YouTube camera that I got. I am like, wow, my phone films better videos than that camera now.
Right?
Like literally so much better. Like, I would just be better off filming with my phone. So, but the number one thing is that microphone, because audio quality will make people click off your video so fast, especially on YouTube, if they don't know who you are and they hear the audio is just not great. They're going to be like, okay, bye, next video, right? So just make sure that audio quality is great. And besides that, I mean, you could get the mic that I recommend, that Rode Video Mic Me, is like less than $100, I think. So it's pretty affordable to get started with. You could also get a studio light. I think those are like $30 on Amazon. Honestly, I have some linked in like different blogs and stuff, but literally any sort of like studio light that has a big softbox, they look more intimidating than they are. I promise they're not super intimidating. They literally just like set it up, plug it in, flip a switch, and you turn it on. And that can help like just up your lighting a little bit, especially if you don't have a lot of natural light in whatever room you're filming in. But yeah, I would say as far as the tech setup, that's what I would really start with.
Yeah, I literally started with the Rode mic that you just mentioned. I got a flip stick for my phone, which if you guys don't know what a flip stick is, it like magnetically goes to your phone and then you could stick it anywhere. I stuck it on the window and I pulled a chair up, and that's how I recorded my first few videos. Like I felt like all the tech stuff was so overwhelming. So I just didn't do anything but the mic. And then I will say too, CapCut has a really great where you can, what is it called? A teleprompter. Within CapCut, I actually just used it. I had to do a training I did something with Stan Store, and I like for the life of me couldn't get through it without a teleprompter. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try it. And it turned out so good. I don't know if they like moved where they put the text, but it looks like I'm looking at the camera. And I loved it. And you can do it horizontally. Before with CapCut, you could only do it like on vertical videos. And now it's horizontal. So I was like, that is amazing, because I have to script things now for long form. When it's a video for podcasts, I don't have to script. But for YouTube, if I did YouTube again, I would 100% have to script it, because I just go off on these like tangents. And then, okay, so that is the tech setup. What would you recommend for like the simplest editing for people? And then the 3 videos they should start with if they want to start their YouTube channel to sell their digital products.
Okay, so I would say as far as editing, again, what's going to feel the most simple to you and like attainable is that editing it in CapCut on your phone. Is that like, are you familiar with even iMovie on your MacBook, and you can just pull it up into there? I personally, I have always found, like, I started off the first couple of years using iMovie. I find it to be the most intuitive program and easiest to use when I'm editing long form content. And then I have upgraded now to Final Cut Pro. It's like the upgraded version of iMovie. It just has a lot more things that make editing easier. Once you start editing, you'll realize like, oh, there's some things I want to do that like this let me do. So, but it is a little bit more. I think it's like $300. So it's a little bit more of an investment.
For the year or forever?
One-time purchase.
Cool,
which is really nice.
And then iMovie's free, right?
Yes, iMovie's free. So I would say like iMovie's a really great place to start. I'm pretty sure I have a tutorial on my YouTube channel. Like 99%
got a tutorial for everything.
I know I filmed it was a year or two ago, but iMovie hasn't really changed since then. So you could look at that and see if that's helpful for you. And then I would say the first 3 video ideas, I think about, like, especially if you have an existing audience, what are the 3 top things they're always asking you about that you can turn into a video? So what are the questions you're always getting? Or maybe like when it comes to purchasing your digital product, what's the biggest objection you get that people say like, oh, like I can't do this because of XYZ? Like turn that into a video. One other thing I will say is they're a really helpful tool if you want something to help kind of guide you. If you're like, well, I have 10 different things that come to mind, is called TubeBuddy. And it's essentially an extension you can install on your browser. And when you type something in YouTube, so say if I were to, like, if I were to go on my browser with it installed and type in Instagram Reels tutorial 2024, it would give me a rating of like how easily I could rank for that, especially if I do want to
Oh,
go more for that search driven content and have like be found. And that can also help with, I use that to help validate my ideas that people are actually searching for it, because it'll rank it based on how much people like search volume, how much people are actually searching it. And then also competition, like how many people have made videos
oh,
on it. So then you can see, like, kind of find those gaps of what are people searching a lot for that don't have a lot of videos on it, right?
yeah.
That's kind of how I research my videos, and also research exact titles because, for example, Instagram Reels tutorial 2024, there's so many ways I could title that video. It could be
Yeah.
tutorial for Instagram Reels. It could be beginner Instagram Reels tutorial, like trying to figure out different ways to phrase it. That's how
Yeah.
I'll actually finalize how I title my videos to try to get ranked in search as best I can. So that's where I would start, just like listening to your audience. What are like the top things they're asking? Because if they're asking it, other people are probably asking it too. They're
Yeah.
also your ideal client. And then use TubeBuddy to help kind of finalize like what you're going to actually name the video.
That's smart. So for me, you guys, for example, my first one would probably be, what is a digital product? Because I still get that question all the time. People don't really understand like what is the scope of a digital product. So I'd make a video on that. My second one would be how to make money with a digital product, because people don't understand. So many people still come to me and they're like, oh, are you selling on Etsy? I'm like, no, like people still associate like digital products with Etsy.
Yeah.
And then third would be how to find the right digital product to sell, right? There's a lot of people like don't know how to take their passions and turn it into something. So those 3 videos would qualify people for all my digital products that I sell to solve like the next steps that they need after that. So that is what I would do for my first 3. Look at me. I'm just like scripting out my YouTube videos right here.
There you go.
I will say something else that I've seen you do really well with YouTube is affiliate links within your YouTube caption. Was that what they're called? Captions?
Description.
Description,
Yeah.
yes. And I feel like that's such a great way to make even more passive income, because people are coming to you saying, hey, I need this. I need to learn how to use this. And a lot of the time they probably haven't signed up for it yet. So then you're able to get like the sign up, right? I know you do it for ManyChat. What other affiliate programs do you kind of plug inside of your YouTube videos?
Yeah. So I talk about Flowdesk a lot, my email marketing program. I talk about Kajabi. That's how I host my online courses. I talk about my website designer, who I got my website template from. I'm an affiliate for her. That's performed really well. Yeah. YouTube is something I didn't even talk about, but affiliate marketing is a huge part too of YouTube. And I do create some videos that are specific for like different affiliates I'm for. And honestly too, like some of these video ideas are even helpful. Like when my own audience is asking like, oh, how do I start with Flowdesk? I'm like, here's a video. But even thinking about how to create videos, like either like if you go to any of my YouTube videos, I even have under every video in my description, just like a set of like a list of popular links that are the same for every video. So if anyone's ever on a video and they're wondering like, oh, what's like her top favorite programs, what's her favorite, or what are her like most popular products, like that's in every video. And you have to think about like what are the things people are asking before they need the product you're affiliating for.
Yep.
Because I've created videos before, like for example with Flowdesk, once someone joins Flowdesk, maybe then they're wondering, how do you set up a workflow in Flowdesk? And that's a great video for me to make for my own audience. It's probably not going to give me a lot of affiliate income, right?
No.
Because people are already signed up with Flowdesk and now they're wondering this thing. So you do kind of have to, I think that's the ManyChat one has performed really well for me affiliate wise very quickly. And I think a big part of that is because people don't even know what ManyChat is when they're searching for that solution. They're just like, how do you DM someone something automatically? And then they're like, oh, it's ManyChat. But if I was to create a tutorial on, how to edit a specific feature in ManyChat, can even come up with one right now, that would not perform as well as an affiliate because they already have ManyChat, So there's a lot to think about there. It's very interesting.
Totally. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, you guys. I will link everything below. I will link her YouTube channel for you. Take advantage of it. She has so many great offers, and I will link those for you guys to look at below. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and my guest today. If you learned anything from our episode, I would love it if you could share it over on your Instagram stories and tag me at Abigail Pugh. Until next time, love you, mean it.